new series, Scrapbook Spending Freeze 101. I'm Julie from Spend Less Craft More. Now the goal of this series is obviously going to be to give you some motivation and some tips for if you want to start your own spending freeze. Now my, credentials to be doing this class, you might already know I've just completed a 100-page spending freeze. So that took me about 7 months. So, you know, a little bit of a challenge, but I did it. It was awesome, 100 scrapbook pages, and I didn't spend a cent. Prior to that, I have been blogging, also Spend Less Craft More, for about 6.5 years, and in that time my focus has varied a little bit, but generally it's always been about budgeting, working on the creativity process rather than just, you know, building up a supply of product. I probably, when I first started back 6.5 years ago, I hadn't been doing much craft for a little while, and I had this desk which was basically just piling up with this product that I'd purchased and obviously not got around to storing, let alone using. And I'd known of a couple of women who I'd helped sort of declutter their, after they died, I think in this case their wool stash. And I just thought, I don't want my children's legacy from me, their inheritance, to be this pile of craft products that was trendy 20, 30 years ago. So that's when that was my real motivation way back then to get me started. This time around, obviously I have been budgeting in different ways over the years since then, but I did feel my products starting to creep up again, and I thought I'll just challenge myself to just not spend any money and see how I go with creating, and that's what I did. So that's, I guess, my motivation. So probably a good part of the process for you guys might be to have a little think about what your motivation for doing a spending freeze is. Maybe write a couple of points down on a bit of paper now, pause the video or do it later. It's probably going to be something to do, perhaps you haven't got enough room to store all the supplies that you've got, or perhaps, as my mum used to say, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. You're just feeling like you're buying more than you're able to use. And obviously a goal as part of a spending freeze, it's not just about not spending money, although that's a part of it, but it's about creating. It's about focusing on the creative process while at the same time getting rid of some of those supplies. So have a go at that. Maybe write down your motivations. Before we get really into actually starting the spending freeze, there's a couple of preparation things that you might want to think about. Number one is picking your time. Now, you're never going to have a perfect time in your life to do everything. We know that. We know we've got busy lives. But probably if you know you've got some crazy thing at work or some crazy daughter getting married, I don't know what it could be, but that might be a time to avoid. You won't be able to wait for a perfect time, but just don't start when it's your absolute most crazy time of your life. So it's all right not to start now if now is a bad time. Doesn't mean you can't still watch the videos and join in some of the activities to keep yourself inspired for later, but just have a bit of a think about that. So timing, I guess the same thing with that. Here I live in Newcastle. We have one craft show a year that comes to Newcastle. I won't be going this year, but in the past my mum would come down. She's not coming down this year, that's why I'm not going. My mum would come down. It would be a big thing for us to go to the craft show together, and I would always have lots of fun buying some fun supplies. So if you've got just your one special spending, maybe it's your absolute favourite shop has one sale a year, again, you don't want to have that happening in 3 weeks into your freeze and ruin your resolve. You know, you probably are going to miss some sales, let's face it. If you live somewhere where there's craft shows going on all the time, you might miss a couple of craft shows, and that's okay. But just, you know, just have a bit of a think and be conscious about those kind of things before, be a bit realistic before we set in. Now, your other preparation that you might want to think about, you might think you don't need to, but just have a little think. The last thing that I did before I started on my spending freeze was I had a look at my absolute basic supplies and thought, is there anything that I need to buy so I don't run out? And by basic supplies I meant adhesive. So you don't want to run out of adhesive 5 pages into a 100-page spending freeze. You're just going to walk in the shop to buy adhesive and come out with who knows how much. So adhesives are your replacement blades and things like that on whatever trimmers that you use. Pens, your journaling pens, that's an essential supply. I stocked up on page protectors. Now what I didn't buy was albums, and I certainly could have. I've now got a drawer just full of pages and no album to put them in. It's not essential, obviously, because you can still make the pages, but that would be an okay thing to spend money on now, just in preparation for all these fabulous pages that you are going to make. And that's pretty much as far as I would go with essentials. I've probably nothing, unless maybe every single page you make, you use white cardstock. Really, other than that, that's your essentials that you're wanting to buy. Other than that, you've got enough stuff. Let's face it, that's why you're thinking about doing a freeze in the first place. So that's your preparation. Next thing you're going to want to do is set a resolution. Now, as I said, I did 100 page spending freeze. I get that that's maybe a little bit intimidating to some people, but I don't consider myself to have a lot of supplies compared to other people that I've seen, you know, on blogs and YouTube and whatever. So it is doable. Yes, it does take a while, but it's doable. So I would love it if some of you out there went, yes, I am going to do a 100 page spending freeze. But if you don't want to do 100, it doesn't mean you can't play along. Just make a decision that's realistic for you. Another option might be you're not really sure you can get to 100, but you might do it in a couple of stages. So maybe you'll do 30 or 50, and then when you finish that, you can have a little bit of a look around and go, oh yeah, actually I can keep going. I can do another 30 or another 50. I found at the end of my 100, I actually hadn't run out of that much stuff. I was low on, I was out of black cardstock, black textured cardstock, but I had a different type of black cardstock that I could use. I had run out of my adhesive, my dimensional adhesive that I did run out of just before the end. A couple of things I ran low on, but really I've got so much pattern paper still there. I still have a folder bulging with embellishments. So, you know, like, don't be afraid to give it a go. You might be surprised at how much you can do and how much you've still got at the end. So set your resolution. Now, you guys that are Kit Club members, I've never belonged to a Kit Club, so it's easy for me to say a spending freeze means zero spending, but really it's up to you whether you even can pause your kit or kits for a while, or whether you want to. If your kits work for you and you love them, and or you can't actually pause them, it's part of the conditions, by all means keep going. It's not going to be, and you're not allowed to play along if you're still getting a kit. But let me just encourage you, you're going to still have supplies coming in. 100 page spending freeze should be a breeze for you, because you're still getting, I don't know, how many pages do you get out of a kit? 10 pages out of a kit? I don't know. But yeah, so just have to think about that. Now, I find, and I'm sure there's you know, literature out there that will tell you that the best way to stick to a resolution is not to just keep it in here, but to make it public. So certainly if you've got crafty friends, tell them this is what I'm doing. Maybe even enlist them. They might want to do a spending freeze with you. So certainly make it public. And one way that I'm going to suggest that you make it public is I have just started a Facebook group, Spending Freeze, Scrapbook Spending Freeze 101. So join into the group and let us know on the group what your resolution is going to be. I'm hoping that it's going to be a supportive group of people. Hopefully we're going to share some ideas. I'll certainly be putting ideas up there pretty regularly, or extra reading if you like, maybe from my blog in the past, maybe other people's YouTube videos that are helpful. So even if you're not ready to start now, still join the group and get a bit excited, see what other people are doing, and that will be awesome. Let me see, what else do I need to say? So I think that's it. So that's it for today. So today's homework is pretty easy. Number one, just write down your reasons for wanting to do a spending freeze and what you hope to get out of. Number two, think about the timing, whether you're going to start straight away, you need to do a little bit of homework, you need to wait. Join the Facebook group and tell us those resolutions. Let us know what you've decided to do, what your spending freeze is going to be, so we can cheer you along. So that's it. That's lesson one. Thanks for joining me, and probably, if I didn't already say, I'm thinking this is going to be 5 videos or 5 classes, if you want to call it that, unless of course down the chat you guys have some questions or some ideas that I think are worth sharing. And then post this video, this series, I'm hoping Scrapbook Spending Freeze maybe 1 or 2 or something like that. We'll just, because you may still be going on your spending freeze by the time these videos are finished, but just more in the way of different ideas that you can try to keep yourself going and keep yourself motivated. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.